welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline. This is our Tuesday night live show in Bethel Park. You can see us on Comcast 7. Shout out to all our fans. We appreciate it. There's even a tour of the police station. So we had a lot of fans already coming in here. I think Johnny was one of the guys, and I missed him. So you'll have to see this on the replay since he's in the building. We're also on Verizon 32, all the way from Nemacolin to Cranberry, Wexford. And I've been running into a lot of people that are seeing us throughout the city. Appreciate the kind words about our show and how you like it. Enjoy both shows that we have. And they're on Tuesday through Saturday night, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. We're even on a Monday morning at 11 o'clock in the morning, Chip. And I've heard rumors that we're on Sunday sometimes. So 7 days a week of Pittsburgh Sportsline. And if you can't sleep, sometimes we're on at 12:30 at night. So if you want to hear some sports talk and you hear a couple guys or a few guys laughing at times. Oh, by the way, Smoking Jim's not here. He is fine. To all his sweeties out there, he is safe. The only problem is it's very icy out there, and even though it has four-wheel drive, everybody knows four-wheel drive does not always handle the ice. At least that's what I heard from my brother from another mother, Chip. So he'll be watching us live. So, hey, Smoking Jim, thanks for leaving us the Chip and Al show. We appreciate it. We'll do our best with marathon conversations, and we will talk sports, that's for sure. We have a lot of great things to talk about, especially after that Super Bowl. And I want to thank everybody for all the likes. We had 5,112 likes, and I appreciate you liking our Facebook page. On the 13th, it'll be 3 years that we've had the page, so appreciate those likes coming, and we will like your page if you like us. And that's how we operate. We're going to start our show with what's on our mind, and we're going to do that right now. Chip the Prophet Hayner, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, thank you, Alan. And what's on my mind this evening, of course, everybody saw the Super Bowl on Sunday. And, Al and I will probably go into great detail in talking about the game itself.
Yes.
But the performance of one of the marquee athletes in the NFL was pathetic, to put it as mildly as I can without getting censored. Cam Newton, supposedly, the young gentleman that runs around and says what he wants and does what he wants and fell completely flat on his face. I think he was an embarrassment to the game of football, and, we'll get into that a little bit more.
Sure.
And even more embarrassing is, as a $100 million athlete and a product sponsor and everything, we were taught to win graciously, and when you lose, be a man, admit
Sure.
that you got bested that day, take responsibility for your actions. Unfortunately, Cam never got that memo. It wasn't anybody's. It was somebody else's fault that he didn't perform well. And I thought the most interesting thing is, in what little he said after the game in the post-game interviews, was that it wasn't anything that the Denver Broncos did that beat them. We just didn't, we didn't pass protect, and the receivers didn't catch passes, and I overthrew receivers, and and we couldn't run. But I guess that had absolutely nothing to do with the Denver Broncos. You can't even give the team that beat the snot out of you the credit and the respect they do. But Cam Newton, you're pathetic. That's what's on my mind.
I'm glad you didn't mince any words, Chip.
Well, and I kept it all in our G rating.
Yeah. It's still a family-friendly show. We're out there in the airwaves, so don't put the kids to bed yet. They can still watch a few more nuggets that we may have, some insights. Maybe we'll even learn a couple things. Well, hopefully. Smoking Jim, you could call in on my cell because our phone's not hooked up here. You know my number. He doesn't have a phone-enabled, cell phone to talk. So he'll have to text me. I'm sure he will.
I was going to say they still have payphones, right?
Yeah. Well, depends on the neighborhood. There's a couple of them that do. What's on my mind is the resurgence of the number one hockey player in the NHL. I never gave up on him. I was worried about his injuries, and I was worried about how they keep trying to get rid of coaches in the NHL. They only have a shelf life of about 4 years, and it seems like sometimes since the tradition of Lemieux, who's a legend, that even Hall of Fame coaches don't last that long. So I'm glad to see some of the players are meshing with the team. Sidney's on his longest streak, 7 games in a row, scoring goals. He's also scored 9 home games in a row with goals. And he's 53 points, I think he has now. So, I mean, we'll talk a little Penguins a little later on because it has been a resurgence. They sort of got lost in the shuffle with the Steelers up and down and injuries. And, of course, they always have injuries on the Penguins. But it's nice to see the captain playing at the level he is because he actually uplifts those other players, which that's what we've talked about. When you're not doing that, what's the point of paying all that money? And he's done well here, and we've won a cup, but we're spoiled in Pittsburgh. We're looking for more cups, and we need more wins. So that's the key. Let's go Pens, and I'm optimistic. And we're going to start our next segments that we have. Smoking Jim with his fiction and fact, and he didn't leave me a memo on it. I mean, he's capable of email, but I got nothing. No text either. So we're going to start with Chip's trivia time right now. Come on, Chip.
Well, I got a number of different things that I could go over and fill up some time, but first thing you want to tip your hat to is the Hall of Fame finalists in the NFL, elected Saturday night. And I believe all the candidates were deserving. Kevin Green, Jim's favorite linebacker that was not in the Hall of Fame, is now in the Hall of Fame. Brett Favre, one of Jim's favorite quarterbacks, is now in the Hall of Fame. Tony Dungy, who started his football career as a defensive back for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the late 70s, early 80s, and became a defensive coordinator for Chuck Noll before he moved on to head coaching responsibilities in Tampa Bay, as well as in Indianapolis, where he helped Peyton Manning win his first championship. Marvin Harrison, one of Peyton Manning's favorite targets for a number of years in Indianapolis, has finally been elected into the Hall. Orlando Pace from the St. Louis Rams as an offensive lineman made the Hall. And a big congratulations to all of Raider Nation. Kenny Stabler, the Snake, is now officially a member of the Hall of Fame. He was elected in on the seniors ballot along with Dick Stanfill. And as a contributor to the game of football, Eddie DeBartolo, who owned the 49ers during their run of championships in the 80s, is now elected into the Hall of Fame. Each one of them, I believe, are deserving, and we will get to watch them become inducted this summer at the Hall of Fame. And, you know, I wonder if Kevin Green's going to wear any Steeler black and gold when he goes in.
I don't know. That was my question.
I mean, I think more than likely he paid the majority of his career for the Los Angeles/St. Louis Rams.
Right.
But, you know, it's funny that the St. Louis Rams, or I guess the LA Rams at the time, decided that they were going to go in a different direction because of a college coach they hired named Rich Brooks.
Right.
And this benefited the Steelers in 2 ways. The way it benefited the Steelers in the first way was he decided that a washed-up running back in his 3rd year out of Notre Dame did not fit their plans, so he traded him after he drafted Lawrence Phillips. And if anybody wonders what happened to Lawrence Phillips, he died in prison just last year. And, Jerome Bettis only happened to ride the bus all the way to Canton. But then, you know, after that, they decided that Kevin Green didn't fit in their plans on defense, and the Steelers happily took him for 3 years. And he became the perfect bookend to Greg Lloyd on the right side. Kevin played on the left side, led the league in sacks a couple of years in a row, and actually helped to create what they called the Blitzburg defense. Actually even took the Steelers to 2 AFC championship games, won one, lost another, and unfortunately Neil O'Donnell handed the Cowboys a Super Bowl win in 1995. So, you know, we can thank old Rich Brooks from the Rams for, you know,
now that's some good trivia, yes.
Casting aside 2 Hall of Famers that helped the Steelers reestablish their dynasty in the late 90s and early 2000s. Some of the people that didn't make it, Kurt Warner, John Lynch, Edgerrin James, Joe Jacoby. Alan Faneca didn't make it on his first shot. I believe Alan Faneca will get in the Hall of Fame. He has the credentials, 9 straight Pro Bowls. Was the anchor of the offensive line for the Steelers leading up to their Super Bowl win and Super Bowl 40. Don Coryell, who I was surprised didn't get it, the architect of Air Coryell of the late 70s, early 80s, helped put Dan Fouts in the Hall of Fame. How could you put your quarterback in the Hall of Fame and the head coach not go?
Yeah.
And Steve Atwater and Morton Anderson, and last but not least, the what do I say? Probably one of the worst teammates most players ever had, Terrell Owens. I guess they say your exploits on the field are what should determine you whether you go in the Hall of Fame or not. Well, maybe not so much. So there you go. Now, my last piece of trivia, okay, being that we had the Super Bowl, and I thought one of the interesting things about the Super Bowl this year was the fact that they had all the Super Bowl MVPs identified at the beginning of the game.
Right.
And of all the Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, only 2 are not alive. One would be Kenny the Snake Stabler, who died last year of cancer.
Right.
And the other one was somebody that the Steelers cut, who became a household name in Baltimore, Johnny Unitas, who won Super Bowl V for some of you that may not remember. The Baltimore Colts beat the Dallas Cowboys on Jim O'Brien's last-second field goal in Super Bowl V. So that's another little piece of Super Bowl
You gave
trivia.
us bonus trivia with the Super Bowl.
Now, being that we've got some time on our hands, and if anybody is wondering, a certain somebody around here is ready for baseball season. And next Wednesday, the pitchers and catchers report. The rest of the team reports on Friday. So I broke out some Pirates trivia, and
Wow.
I will kind of make this brief, because the Pirates trivia, the Pirates historical moments started in 1887. But, as you go through all the different years of the Pirates and the things that they did, in 1903, they won their 3rd consecutive National League championship. And the thing that was significant about this is that Exposition Field, for which there's a marker on the North Shore for where it used to stand, was the site of the very first World Series. The Pittsburgh Pirates played Boston, and I'm not sure what the Boston's team was.
Red Stockings maybe back then?
I don't know, but back
not?
then the World Series was a best-of-9 series. And in 1903, the Pirates lost to Boston 5-3. But the interesting part of that was in the first game, in the first World Series game ever, Deacon Felipe defeated the legendary Cy Young as the Pirates downed the Boston Pilgrims 7-3 after splitting the next 2 games. So little piece of trivia there, greatest pitcher that ever lived.
He didn't get one of his wins.
Didn't get one of his wins. And then we start looking through 1909, I believe. I got this out of order. Yes, 1909. The Pirates won the first of 5 world championships. Moving forward, 1911.
Was 1909 in Forbes Field yet? Or?
No, 1909 was still down at Exposition Park.
All right.
Because, let's see here. Aha, 1909 on June 30th, an overthrow witnessed the Pirates fall to the Cubs in the first game played at Forbes Field.
Okay, because I thought it was around 1909 they built Forbes Field.
And that was also the year that the Pirates won their first world championship. 1911, we watched one of the greatest players to ever play the game bow out, Honus Wagner.
You that old? Oh, you mean Pirate fans?
Pirate fans, yes. Because Pirate,
Sorry,
yeah.
I couldn't resist that easy one.
I'm a vampire. I live forever, right?
Nice.
But Honus Wagner closed out his career with a .334 batting average, good enough to earn him the nickname the Flying Dutchman, and his National League record 8th and final batting title.
Wow.
So, the Pirates, unfortunately, couldn't add a championship then.
Whoa.
1921. And you know what?
We'll
We're on live TV. We don't let anything phase us.
No, just keep going.
1921.
Don't stop that.
On August 5th, KDKA, the world's first commercial radio station, airs the first broadcast of a Major League game as Harold Arlen describes the action as the Pirates beat the Phillies at Forbes Field. Then we get further on into the 20s, and the second World Championship was won in 1925. But the interesting thing, after winning the championship in 25, the Pirates were contenders in 26. The better team one of the best teams that the Pirates have ever had, led by Paul Wainer, went to the World Series in 1927, only to be swept by the Murderers Row New York Yankees.
Maybe the best team
in
ever.
4 games, and arguably the best team to ever play the game.
Exactly.
Then they went through some down years. Of course, 1935 was historic at Forbes Field for one thing and one thing only.
My man.
Allen's favorite baseball player hit the last 3 home runs of his career. As he played for Boston, he hit 3 home runs, and in the first blow, in his first ever to clear the 10-year-old right field roof. The Pirates would go on to finish the season 4th. Then it takes us all the way until 1960, when the Pirates decided it was time to string up another World Championship banner. Bill Mazeroski authored that. Through the 60s, Danny Murtaugh's Pirates were consistently contenders, and once again, 1971, Pittsburgh Pirates won the World Series against the Baltimore Orioles at 7 games. Followed in 1972 by another competitive Pirates team that watched the end of a magnificent career, where Roberto Clemente, in his final game and in his final at-bat at Three Rivers Stadium, doubled to right center off of John Matlack for his 3,000th and final base hit. Unfortunately, Roberto never lived to see January 1st, 1973. Through the 70s, the Pirates were a powerhouse, earning the nickname of the Lumber Company.
Right.
A lot of big bats. Dave Parker became one of the premier players.
Wasn't he the first $1 million player?
He was the first $1 million player, won the National League MVP in 1978. Willie Stargell came into his own, became known as Pops, and Willie Stargell won the National League MVP award that year. Terry Bradshaw won the MVP award for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Pirates and the Steelers pulled the first double, winning the Super Bowl and the World Series in the same year. 1979 was a great year.
Well, didn't that start the City of Champions?
That started the City of Champions talks, and then there was a lot of upheaval with the Pirates, changes in ownership. There was the drug trials in the 80s where the team almost left. Finally, Jim Leland was brought in to help to resurrect the franchise. They won 3 back-to-back National League championships, National League East titles. Never quite made it to the World Series, thanks to Barry Bonds' inability to throw out Sid Bream at home plate in 1992. And then through 20 years of hardships, the Pirates were resurrected. 2011, when the Pirates hired Clint Hurdle. Took them 2 years to turn the team around. Now we're one of 3 teams in the major leagues that have gone to the playoffs the last 3 years in a row. So I am excited. I am ready and raring for this season. Got my tickets for the opener, April 3rd.
I thought maybe you'd show them. You didn't bring them in.
I didn't bring my tickets.
Oh, man.
They're under lock and key, Al.
Don't worry, we wouldn't steal it from you. I'm a baseball fan, and Smoking Jim doesn't really care.
The little extended version of Chip's Trivia. More to come as we go through the baseball season. You know my passion for the game. And, that's what I've got for you this week.
No, you got some great stuff. I appreciate it. And one thing I did want to bring up with Air Coryell, I didn't see how he could miss this time and not be in there, because how he revolutionized the game from the West Coast.
Well, and and there were head coaches, and I can't remember. There was a great coach that, was Woody Hayes, I believe, who was a head coach at Ohio State. But he said, when you pass a football, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad, and that's why he always had the ground and pound, offense. But Air Coryell opened up the game, and as a matter of fact, when the Steelers won Super Bowls 13 and 14 back to back. The defense was aging at that point, and they pretty much won those 2 games on Bradshaw's arm.
Oh, without a doubt.
And
Stallworth and Swan.
Terry Bradshaw is one of 2 quarterbacks to win back-to-back MVP awards in the Super Bowl. The other one, Bart Starr.
Oh, really?
Super Bowl 1 and 2.
Yeah. We got extra bonus trivia time. Chip, you're on fire tonight.
Yeah.
I can't even recall what I was going to talk about. It's so interesting.
Don't worry, you'll think of something.
I just did. Oh, sorry. For anybody that knows me, one of the first things, I don't know if Tessa, who's now been with us 3 weeks now, she's actually telling me what to do right
She's
now.
an expert extraordinaire on that.
This is Olive Oil's Pizzeria. They're our pizza sponsor. We just had a great pizza. Call them up, 412-831-1900. You could talk to Jay or you could talk to Zach right there. Zach's everywhere. Zach's in the control room and Zach is running the pizza shop. So check it out, 412-831-1900. Right at Hillcrest Shopping Center. They have a lot of specials. Just drive there. Well, if it's icy here in Bethel, I know there's salt in the streets. I made it here, no problem, but you can go pick up your pizza there. Then I wanted to help promote another group, 5A Elite Youth Empowerment, and they have a mission of developing future leaders through a holistic approach aimed at achieving excellence in academics, athletics, and awareness. So another good group that's one of our friends and fans. Then, you know, I'm always ending our shows with Stay Joey Strong. He passed away last year on January 21st. They've had a couple different events where they raised some money. Congratulations to DECA, D-E-C-A. Last Thursday, I think it was, they raised over $1,300 with bingo, and it really wasn't publicized. They did a great job. Congratulations to everybody. Then the next night, or maybe that was Wednesday, the next night was a basketball game, ladies basketball game. Both teams, the JV needed to win to get in the playoffs, and same with the varsity. JV, I saw one of the most exciting JV games. They come back, did a last-second shot, were within 2 points, got fouled. The young lady had gotten injured, like knocked around, hurt her knee. She gutted it out, got the first foul shot in, was down by 1 point. There was like 0.7 seconds left. She shoots the basketball. I'm sorry, I forget her name. It goes off the back of the rim and bounced out. So she had a perfect shot, except it was off. It was too long. So it bounced out. They didn't get the rebound. They were fighting for it. Game was over. Now the next game with the varsity, this was against Baldwin. They said it was supposed to be a pretty tight game. I'll tell you what, these girls, Coach Jonna Burke had them fired up. They ended up winning the game by 20. They were up over 30 points throughout the game. It wasn't in doubt, although a lot of the fans and, you know, parents were a little nervous because the girls started to give the ball away a few times, but it didn't matter. They won 52-32. Here's the point of this. With the Stay Joey Strong, they were selling T-shirts. The newest T-shirts are out, Soldiers for Joey. So it was a great fundraiser. $7 T-shirts for children, $10 T-shirts for adults. So check it out. They'll be out through the community. If you have $1, donate it, because it's this dreaded brain cancer, DIPG, and it affects you as a child, and you have a death sentence. They can't even treat it. Kids are dying within months, within a year. There's no cure. They can't help you. So Stay Joey Strong and check them out, the Joey Fabus Cancer Foundation. Donate to them. You can find them online. If you see Pittsburgh Sportsline, I put up stuff about it too. So help support the family. They're trying to do great things out of something that's so horrific here. So everybody, you take care, and I'm glad I could help on that. And then we'll get to this one later on. So as we go, well, it may happen right now since we'll go on location. On location, we just had a show at Atria's PNC Park last night. We had some great teams out there.
Yeah, it's good.
You get it? Okay, we'll be back on the 22nd, so check that out. Chip, you know how Smokin' Jim doesn't really like to mention Penn Hills.
Yep.
Right? Doesn't even acknowledge that it's a community by that name. It's a suburb of Monroeville.
Yes.
Well, we just had the coach, John Tate, who's a friend of mine on Facebook. First time I met him in person. Well, he's also a friend of a guy that used to work with me at the Pittsburgh Press and Post-Gazette. And Chief, if you're watching, I'm sure you remember Haas Hill. So here it's John Tate's best friend. So now I become best friends with him. We ignored Smoking Jim. His ladies' Penn Hills team is 20-2 entering the playoffs. So they're quite the talented team. He took over 4 years ago, and I had him go through the story on how we started to change the mentality to a winning program, that it was hard work. Smoking Jim was quiet through most of the interview, so I guess they made some good points to him.
You know, to speak to another something that's near and dear to Jim's heart, and I want to make note of every week is also the Alderdice boys basketball team. What they did last night was they took apart a team that is historically one of the better teams in Western Pennsylvania,
Sure.
and they took Newcastle out behind the woodshed and put a thumping on them. And the Newcastle coach says that that's the best City League team that he has seen since the 2007 Shenley team with DeJuan Blair, which is recognized.
Kennedy, wasn't Kennedy on that team
as one of the best ever. And right now that Alderdice boys basketball team is ranked number 1 in the state, and we're looking for big things from them. The coach's name, Buddy Walensky, and doing great things over there at Alderdice. And if you get a chance to pay attention to any of that, go watch a game. Unfortunately, the games are in the middle of the afternoon, but my friend Jim seems to find a way to get over to them.
So he says. I still want to verify with 3 sources that he's there. But no, you bring up a great point. I actually had a phone call from our friend Mario Tempest.
Mm-hmm.
He called me up today and he said, I just heard about the game with Alderdice. And he goes, Newcastle was supposed to be a good game.
Yeah.
He said, they got blown out.
Yeah,
Wasn't even close.
They didn't even
we
get
talked
close.
About that today, so we're on the cutting edge here of what we're talking about.
And Alderdice, they just seem to be getting better and better. And, generally the eastern side of the state is the strongest part of the state when it comes to basketball. The schools in the Philadelphia
and
suburbs.
boxing, basketball and boxing.
But Western PA is a hotbed for football talent, and I think we got a team out west here that might make a little noise in the state playoffs this year. Be interested in seeing that happen.
I know they will. They were already good, and I told them because you got good karma being on Pittsburgh Sportsline, you have nothing to worry about. After you win the state championship, you can come back to Pittsburgh Sportsline. They said they'll see us. So they have some confidence.
Bring the trophy.
That was the point. Their 5 starters are very articulate for seniors, very nice young men, educated and going on to college, numerous colleges in the area.
That's great.
So it's nice to see that.
It's great to see that. They're being taught the right way, and the kids are great representatives of the Pittsburgh City League.
And then we had another group of guests that. There's the Yellow Jackets, Steel City Yellow Jackets, the ABA pro team in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And they're under new ownership. I met Ace Pippin. He's a great coach. I met his players, Zoe and Clem, and his coach, Mylan Tyler. We were talking. We had a great time there. They said, come on, I'll see a game. We only got 2 games left. So the season's almost over there. I don't know about their playoff status. We'll have to get more details on it, but great guys. Zoe, the center, is 6'8", looks like in great shape. They had some nice family and friends out there. So it's always nice to meet other people that are doing something. This is after you're out of high school and college, some high school players, but the college kids, if you don't want to go to Europe, where do you go? So now you got a couple places to go in Pittsburgh and play basketball. And it's just great to see that because we've always had a lot of basketball players, but no outlets for them to go further.
Well, you think about it, there's almost 130 Division I, college basketball teams, and you got Division II, Division III. So, there's only, 12 roster spots on each NBA roster.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to make it to the NBA.
No, it's rare.
That they can take their talents and stay in the United States because, some people don't mind traveling abroad. But traveling abroad anymore is a little bit more of a risky proposition than it used to be.
Well, even the one player, Clem, He went to Frankfurt, Germany for a year,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked him how it was. He goes, it wasn't that good. I go, did you learn the language? He said no. So that was another impediment.
Well, sure.
You know, so, but he wanted to play, and you do get paid, so that helps. But he's back here, and he's happy to be playing with the ABA and the Pittsburgh team. So,
And you know what? Wouldn't be too surprised if we see one of them ultimately make an NBA roster because
that's the potential.
Attrition happens. Pro athletes get hurt, and they ship out the broken body, bring in a new one. So who knows what could happen?
Yeah, and that could happen. It'd be nice out of Pittsburgh to hear that. It helps our sports athletics here, and the kids look up to these guys that are actually continuing their basketball career. So,
Sure.
Good thing there. We'll be back on the 22nd. A lot of people, we got some interest there coming to the show. I'll announce the guests when we get to it, and it's coming up. Now we're going to start our segments here. We got our Super Bowl segment starting right now. And, I watched that game, and like I told people last night, as I was watching the game, that defense was just so great. But then you know what thought went to my mind? That Pittsburgh scored over 40 points on that defense. And guess what? We were a wounded animal.
We were.
And that's what made me hopeful.
And the Steelers are considered one of the top 3 teams to contend for the World Championship next year. But, the Super Bowl being said, it's turned into this major spectacle. And, I personally thought that the commercials were subpar for the Super Bowl, and I know that's a big thing for some people. They watch the game to see the new commercials. I didn't like the commercials much. I thought the halftime show stunk. But Lady Gaga
killed it.
Absolutely hit it out of the park with her rendition of the national anthem. I love that. Now, it was great to see that the Denver Broncos came ready to play, and this is as cliche as old as they get. Defense wins championships.
Just like good pitching wins World Series.
And lo and behold, what did we have? We had the number 1 defense play the way a number 1 defense should. And it's ironic because the 3 of us last week on this show, we all picked Carolina to win. And I said, I had the closest score of the 3 of us. I said 24-21. Carolina over Denver. But then I put a caveat at the end, and I said that if Denver could hold Carolina under 17 points, Denver would win the Super Bowl. And
I got crushed. Mine got blown out so badly.
Yeah.
I didn't have faith in their defense because of what the Steelers did. And I forgot, not every team is like the Steelers. And Carolina definitely isn't. They don't have that toughness because they kept getting hit. They had no answer for Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware.
None whatsoever.
And they actually looked like little kids playing the game. They didn't look like the DAP and all this other stuff that he does.
Well,
he couldn't do anything.
And this is what I believe Denver's philosophy was in this game. And if you notice the way they were rushing the quarterback, they were not letting Cam get outside of the tackles. So they were taking it, and basically what they were doing was they were daring Carolina, like, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to pass on us to beat us. And
didn't happen.
They did that, and Cam Newton, I don't know what was going through that young man's head, but he played miserably. He acted like a prima donna. And the part of the game that I felt was the most disgusting part on his part was in the 4th quarter, 4 minutes left, down by 6 points. You get sacked. The ball is fumbled, and you don't even make an attempt to try to cover that fumble when the game was still in the balance.
Right.
You got a teammate who had a broken bone in his arm. The day after the AFC Championship game, he had surgery. He's got stitches from here to here on his arm.
Right.
He has to take pain-killing injections just to play in the biggest game of his life. And Cam Newton goes out into the press today and said, I wasn't going to jive for that ball. I was more worried about getting injured. Now, I'm sorry. If I was one of his teammates, I would never block for him again. I would never put my
Maybe
life
that
on the
was
line.
happening because it sure didn't look like they were blocking for him.
Biggest game of your career. Every player that's ever played professional football has dreamt of playing in the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
winning the Super Bowl. And if you aren't going to go all out in that game, what other motivation you need? Now, I guess maybe he thought, well, it wasn't my good side. Maybe if the camera would have had a better angle, I would have tried. But you know what? You go out there and you try everything you can to win. Your teammates are putting it all on the line, their careers, and you're not about to. I just think that's just such a poor example of sportsmanship, and it's a poor example of leadership.
Well, we've seen that before. When people are winning, it's so much more fun. It's easier to play. You're loose. What happens when you start getting hit in the mouth, like they say, and hit in the arm, and the ball comes loose and you can't get away from anybody? You're getting knocked down. I think he just lost his heart.
No, I don't.
You know, he got beat. He got beat up so bad, and they couldn't protect him on the outside. His tackles, I talk about swinging gates with our guys.
No.
It was unbelievable. They were coming right in on him.
Before, as the game was we're going through the first quarter, and I was texting with Jim, because looking at the way Peyton Manning was playing, I hope Peyton makes the right decision and goes ahead and calls it a career.
He will.
Because if you watch them, the guy has no arm strength. And
what's this getting the whole body into that?
Well, his passes were fluttering. They were getting knocked down. There was no zip on the ball. And, he did the best thing he could do by, he didn't really turn the ball over in the game. And that was key. But, Jim texted me that, and this is from somebody that's a student of football, has watched probably more games, more
than
football
anybody we
games,
know.
This year than I've seen in my life. And he told me that Cam Newton is the most selfish football player that he has ever seen in his entire life.
He said that before the game. So, Smoking Jim, if you're listening, we're complimenting you.
Yeah,
okay?
and I'll tell you what, I give credit to Jim for saying that, and I couldn't agree any more with him. I mean, that the behavior that was exhibited just shows somebody that's just a self-absorbed prima donna.
Chip, it reminds me when Smoking Jim again. This is Smoking Jim's night since he's not here. RG me. How many times did he tell us that? He tries to be dramatic, but he does come up with some truth.
No,
so
and
he hit that one too. Look what happened there.
Nail on the head. But my hat's off to the Denver Broncos. They did what they had to do, to win the football game. And it appeared to me that they wanted it more than the Carolina Panthers did. I look back when the Steelers and the Bengals played. There was players getting carried off the field, but every time the Steelers got hit, they hit back, and they did the best thing that you could do when somebody keeps hitting you. They beat them. They won the game. And I can tell you another thing. What Denver did to Tom Brady 2 weeks ago, I tip my hat to Tom Brady. He's a tough cookie.
Yeah.
He stood in there. He didn't cry. He didn't complain. And he
Better
almost
team
pulled that
won.
game. And he almost pulled that game out.
Yeah.
I have more respect for Tom Brady, even though he's a cheater, than I do for Cam Newton.
Yeah. Well, time will tell. Maybe Cam will come back from this a better person. He's already a good player, but can he stand the heat? Now, here's who I want to say set the table perfectly. John Elway. 2 years ago, they had a huge offensive club, couldn't win. Got crushed. They got blown out by Seattle. What happened now? He reconstituted that team, has a great defense, got a great coach there, whips them into shape, and Peyton Manning admitted it was a team. The defense carried the day, and it made a huge difference, so defense can win it.
And here you know how I am about trivia and all, that Peyton Manning went into this Super Bowl with the worst quarterback rating of any player in NFL history to take his team to the Super Bowl. I think he threw 11 or maybe 12 touchdown passes this year, and had 19 interceptions.
Right.
Now, granted, he was injured for a while, but Peyton has had a great career. I mean, you know what? Take that Super Bowl ring you won Sunday, ride off into the sunset. You'll be in Canton in 5 years, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see Peyton Manning owning a team before too long.
Maybe even coaching a team too. I mean, he could be an offensive coordinator right now. Wasn't he all those years?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
he got under the tutelage of Tom Moore when he was in Indianapolis, who wasn't Tom Moore
Some
working
more,
on Noel's staff at one time?
Well, I was just going to say the legacy of Chuck Noll. You were talking about Tony Dungy. You know, there's another, one of the foundations, Chuck Noll. Look at all the coaches that he created.
And that's the ironic thing. You look at Bill Parcells' coaching tree, and Bill Parcells coaches. You've got Belichick, you've got Tom Coughlin,
right?
And that's great on. And you look at the head coaches that there are a lot of head coaches that were coordinators under Bill Cowher, and the unfortunate part of it was none of them have fared well.
Yeah.
Malarkey, Wisenhunt,
right?
The list goes on and on. Chan Gailey,
oh yeah,
in Dallas and in Buffalo, but
but they made it there.
No, they got there, getting there and staying there. And I'll tell you, even you look at what happened to Ken Wisenhunt when he was in Arizona. The first 2 years he was there, he has Kurt Warner, or a quarterback that could eventually someday make the Hall of Fame. And the minute he lost Kurt Warner and he lost his stud quarterback, a franchise quarterback is critical. If you don't have a quarterback in this league, you're not going to win. I mean, just take a look at the Cleveland Browns. I believe they've had 24 quarterbacks in 17 years.
Yeah.
Pretty much speaks to itself why they're the train wreck that they are.
And plus, they make a lot of dumb moves. So, I mean, that's the other thing.
Well, I think they're on the verge of making the first brilliant move that they've made since they came back to the NFL in 1999, and I'm pretty sure they're going to cut bait with Johnny Manziel. And here's another guy, can't stay out of the press.
Right.
Beat up his girlfriend now. Charges are pending. It's just, and even his own father says, I don't, if he doesn't get help, I don't think he's going to live to see 24. Now, when your father's telling national media that, you know something's wrong.
Well, to me, this was being shown in the media anyhow when he said, my son trains on Skittles and beer. Now, there aren't too many dads, even if they're millionaires, that say that. It wasn't just funny. It was showing there's a deeper problem. Now he needs help because look what happened there.
Yeah.
All that money didn't mean anything, and all the publicity didn't matter.
And the silly thing is the kid could possibly play in the NFL. I don't see him having the tools to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he's got the body size, and I don't think he could take the pounding. He's a small guy,
right?
Getting the ball over top of the defensive lineman's hands or the offensive linemen's heads, but
plus getting hit when he's.
You wait until he starts getting hit the way Brady got hit, the way Cam Newton got hit,
the way Ben gets hit.
I mean, I don't think.
Right?
I don't think he could take that for a year.
No, there's no doubt. Well, any more on football that you want to bring out there? Or?
No, I think next year we got a lot to look forward to when the Steelers hit Latrobe in July.
I predicted 12-4 after watching that Super Bowl because we'll be healthy next year.
Well,
how's that? 12-4.
And just
go
like
Steelers.
Just like all the other teams in the NFL, we're going to go into camp healthy. If we make it through the year healthy, then I think we've got a chance to do something special. Because I'll tell you what, even with all the injuries he had this year, and with one of the hardest schedules in NFL history, still went 10-6. That's
huge.
Yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at in the NFL these days.
No doubt about it. And we are spoiled, like we know.
We are.
We expect our teams to have winning records at least and compete for championships.
We're a team that's 10-6, and people are screaming to fire the head coach.
No, everybody.
Yeah, and
everybody.
And I don't understand it. I mean,
that'll be an argument another day.
Oh yeah, and we will argue long and hard on that one.
Once camp opens in July.
So Alan, you touched on something in your opening segment. And I have been one of the biggest critics of young Sidney Crosby.
With good reason.
And, and that was based on, personally, I have nothing against the guy. He's a very highly paid athlete, and he's paid to perform. And he is performing to the level of his pay over the last month. I'd say he has become the Sidney Crosby that I expected to see in October, November, December.
Right.
But he is scoring points like a pinball machine right now.
And he's moving. He's fast. He's making other people look better. He's making goaltenders look terrible.
But, here's the thing that kills me, is that people are saying, I'm not seeing him do anything different now than he was doing before.
What?
And I just, I'm like, Are you kidding me? I mean, he's playing the
Chip,
game.
don't listen to those people.
With the passion that he grew up playing with that game. You know, it looks like he loves hockey again.
Yeah.
And just, he's lighting a lamp. Look at the Penguins in their last 10 home games. They're 8-0-2.
Right.
Now, if he would have been playing at this level since the beginning of the season,
we'd be leading.
I would be talking about a team that I would feel would contend for the Cup. There's been a short cross-section of the season where the Penguins are performing very well. I'm very encouraged by that. I want to see it continue. It's still only February the 9th.
Yeah.
The playoffs don't start until April, so there's a lot of hockey left to be played.
And that's the good thing about it. When you get on a streak, I'd rather see somebody hot towards the end. So I'm hopeful with that. I think players are getting healthy. We got a couple injuries out there. Malkin's going to be off the rest of the week right now. So, he's been holding the team in there, too.
The way that they're dominating games without Evgeny Malkin right now.
Yeah.
And Eric Fehr has been injured, and he's another one of their starting centers.
Right.
But, they've gotten rid of people like David Perron. And,
Right.
apparently the people that weren't performing.
They're gone.
They're gone, and they brought in other people, and,
Look at Hagelin, looks like a great player. He got his first goal as a Penguin, but he's made some great passes. Even on an empty netter, I think he passed Sydney instead of getting his first goal a week ago. So, you have guys that actually care about each other, and they have class and respect one another. So, you can see a team coming together. At least I can.
Well, and I agree with you. Sullivan has done a very, very good job at getting this team to play and function as a unit instead of having 6 superstars that aren't performing. Now everybody seems to be working together and working towards a common goal.
And as we dig into this, Sullivan is molding his team towards the skills of the players. Not like they were doing before, that now they were supposed to be defensive. They were supposed to, come back, the centers and forwards, to be more defensive game, and just weren't playing the offensive game that this is what our team is.
And that's the mark of a good coach. A mark of a good coach, and I always said this about even Don Shula. And, when everybody said that the Steelers could have drafted Danny Marino, and I always said that Chuck Noll would have ruined Dan Marino. He'd never become a Hall of Fame quarterback because Chuck Noll would have told Dan Marino, you're going to hand the ball off 35 times a game, period. End of sentence. Don Shula saw the talent that Dan Marino had and revamped his offense to complement his talents.
Sure, and he didn't always have a running game either.
So the coach of the Penguins now is molding the system around the talents of the players instead of forcing the players to change the way they play the game to suit the coach's system. To me, that's a mark of a smart coach.
Oh, sure. You have the players like we've been complaining about. You have 4 superstars. Use them the right way. And that's what you see happening now. Fleury is still playing great. He does have a couple lapses here and there, but we have that on defense too. Those breakaways, that makes it a little difficult on us.
Yeah, but you know what? When you have when your goaltender has a lapse and you're scoring 5 or 6 goals, it's not so much of a problem as when you're scoring 1 or 2.
Well, 6-2 game, I don't mind as a little lapse for 2 goals. But when you're in a 2-1 game and you give up 2, you lose. And we've come back with overtime victories, so it's nice.
Now they got Olli Mata and Chris Letang playing together, and actually Chris Letang is playing like the player.
He looks like a different player
that they signed for $7 million a year 3 years ago. He's playing to that caliber again, and wish him nothing but the best.
Sure, and stay healthy because he has many health issues there too, and has been concussed.
And he needs to protect his noggin.
Wow.
He's been concussed so many times, and he knows his next one could be his last.
Yeah, well, we see that in all sports here. So, no doubt, that was our Penguin talk. Let's go Pens. I'm just happy that they're there.
We've got an interesting thing to look forward to with, the start of spring training. And next week I'll have a little bit more, rundown on what's going on with the Pirates. But there's a lot of question marks with the Pirates. They made some some moves that
They
to
seem
me,
like small type of moves. Though.
well, they made a couple of big moves in the fact that they got rid of Neil Walker, they got rid of Pedro Alvarez, and these were two key contributors on the teams that helped that went to the playoffs 3 times in a row. But they had to make some changes, and if you notice, you look around Major League Baseball, Pedro Alvarez still doesn't have a job.
Well, there's a reason.
And maybe an American League will pick him up as a designated hitter, but the Pirates tried everything they could with Pedro. I thought one of his big black marks against him last year is the fact that they were trying to teach him how to play a new position. And he didn't even come in for extra work early at training camp. Right. They brought in Kevin Young, who was a first baseman. They brought him in early so he could work with Pedro, and Pedro chose not to come in, which kind of tells me that, you know what, I understand the message that you're sending me.
Yeah.
Neil Walker, loved Neil Walker, still love Neil Walker, local product. Made it to the big time. Unfortunately, contractually, they couldn't come to agreements with Neil. And, subsequently, the Pirates had to do what they could do. They needed help in a starting pitching.
Right.
And Neil Walker, the only way that they could get a starting major league pitcher was to trade somebody. They want to keep the younger guys that they have the control over. Neil, after this year, we're going to lose him anyhow because he's going to go free agent, and somebody was going to pay him a lot of money. So we got something in return for that. I'm sorry that Neil's not going to be in Bucco Black and Gold this year, but it'll be interesting to see the kind of team that the Pirates do field because you look at how are we going to make up for the home runs that Pedro hit and the home runs that Neil Walker hit?
Right.
But you look at what's going on in the outfield, and Starling Marte is on the verge of being a superstar.
Sure.
Andrew McCutchen, you know what you're getting. Gregory Polanco went through his first full major league season last year, and as the season wore on, he got better. He's figuring it out. He went through the problems last year until finally Clint Hurdle told him, he said, look, are you worried about being sent down? And
it's
he
your
said,
job.
yes.
Yeah.
He said, well, don't. You're going to be my right fielder. And ever since he did that, he started playing. I'm telling you what, that kid's going to win Gold Gloves. And
maybe a hitting championship.
You show me another right fielder with that arm in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the top 2 or 3 arms in baseball. I've watched him throw out multiple runners. So, the Pirates outfielder, besides the speed, I think they could, in production, could make up for the production that was lost by those two. Gong is ahead of his rehab.
Yeah.
And,
it'll be nice to see how he can come back.
And he'll be a solid third baseman. We need better production out of Jordy Mosher at short. He's proven that he is a bona fide major league shortstop. Yeah. And he can, 250, 265. He could bat that. That's what we need. You've got Jay Hay, who's already batted 300 over a season at second base. First base, still a question mark.
Right. The platoon system looks like it'll be in effect.
It will. And the John Jaso, is somebody who's the left-handed glove over there. Yeah. They've got Steve Morris, who, played well for the Giants, but had some off years.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that's got potential. He's a big young man. Now, we've still got Francisco Crivelli behind the plate and Chris Stewart. And in the wings, we've got Reese McGuire and Elias Diaz. So we've got some guys that come up. Now, once again, Ray Searage and Clint Hurdle have picked up reclamation projects and the pitching staff, and they're going to work with them. And you know what? I think they're going to find the right pieces and come up with another stellar bullpen. On the horizon, you've got Tyler Glasnow, who's probably one of the top-rated prospects in Major League Baseball, and you've also got Jamison Taillon, who now
he may be ready this summer.
2 years ago he had the Tommy John. Last spring he had the hernia operation. So he didn't do any more damage to his arm last year. Yeah. Now he's healthy. They need to season him a little bit down in AAA. Pitching against...
he needs experience at that level. And,
we could look for these two in June or July, and they could be part of the pitching staff that helps carry us through a pennant race next year. So, right now, do I think that our starting 5 is going to give us, a championship? No, but you know what? it's going to be interesting to watch this team develop this year.
But here's the problem I have. Chicago seems to be getting better. St. Louis, how do we get past them?
Well, that's
because I'm looking at that. I'm trying to figure out we need runs, though, too.
But you need runs, and you know what? He who spends the most money does not always win.
Believe me, I agree with you on it. But when you see actual players that they're not just spending money on to get them.
But the funny thing is that the Cubs, the people that helped them to get where they're at, really weren't are people that they're adding pieces to,
right,
and they're taking away from the successful mix they had last year.
I'm hopeful that's what I see.
But here's the difference. Here's the problem that we have, and we're going to compete against the Cubs and the Cardinals. Just mark my words on this. But the Cubs recently signed a $2 billion
TV deal.
Local TV deal. The St. Louis Cardinals signed a 15-year, $2 billion local TV package. This is a local TV package. This is not the national.
Right.
And this is money that, it's based on the number of TV sets that are in the, and they blow us away when it comes to that. And we don't have that kind of money. So, we've got to look for the hidden values,
the reclamation projects.
But you know what?
We need a home run hitter or two.
And to be honest with you, I've been a Pittsburgh sports fan all my life. And there is one thing that people in Pittsburgh hate more than losing. It is having overpaid, overpriced, worn-out talent not earning their paychecks. Right. If you remember in the 80s and the 90s, all these bums that we brought in, and Pittsburgh fans were brutal. I would rather see younger guys playing their hearts out, and if we come up a little short, it's easier to deal with than underperforming people that are getting overpaid.
Well, that's true. When you can still see some potential, even though you have to reach that sometime, it feels a little better that they're competing.
And there is a core group of very talented baseball players on this Pirate baseball team.
And I never count out a trade or two that may happen, because somebody gives up on another player.
You know what? And,
some things like
Neil
that.
Huntington, everybody last year when we traded for J. Happ, everybody, and even I said, who?
Yeah.
Okay. And lo and behold, the guy loses his first game miserably. Everybody's saying fire Huntington, fire Hurdle, fire Searage. Then he wins like his next 8 or 9 games in a row, and everybody wants to build statues for them. So.
Well, plus he ended up parlaying that in quite a contract.
Well, quite a contract.
Which that's what you do when you do hard work and you compete.
And you know what? Maybe somebody else overpaid for him and we didn't. Wouldn't that be nice to see?
Well, that does happen. We've seen it before. Definitely. But no, that's our Bucko talk there. We've covered a lot for you there. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. We're winding down, probably about a minute and a half to go to the show. Hopefully you're staying warm out there in TV land. Don't go outside if you don't have to. It's supposed to go to about 12 degrees. So keep watching our show. We appreciate all that. Chip, any closing remarks that you might have?
I just want to give a good thought out to a close member of my family that's in a bad way right now. Our thoughts and prayers are with he and his family, and I want to wish him the best. And just tell everybody, live for today. Tomorrow's not promised.
How true. I mean, we take life for granted and health. Stay healthy. Keep sipping your green tea like I tell you each day, maybe a couple cups. And Smoking Jim just sent me a text. I knew he couldn't call in. He said, y'all look good. Not that you guys had good information or anything else, but you look good. So thanks, Zach in the control room, Zach Anderson, Tessa here. Thanks for making us look good. My hair looks nice from a Zazu. That was cut last week, so thank you. Smoking Jim sent LOL, so we know the show must be over. So, thanks, Smoking Jim. To all of you, have a good night. Stay Joey strong, and keep watching us out there. Take care.